Yeah, of course. When people say that eventually your entire life needs to become a meditation, I think this is the breakdown of that exact statement. That
Exactly.
you
But I
live.
think one thing, Randy, I want to interrupt here is it's really critical to use the right words because it's better to say your whole day becomes a practice. Because then, how
Hmm.
do you differentiate between you sitting down cross legged with your eyes closed, breathing? That's meditation. And then when you're talking to someone, you say that's meditation too. And then when you're eating, it's meditation. Then now you're using one word to describe 100 different things. So you're doing an interview with me. You're having a conversation with me, right? You call it a podcast interview. When you talk to your friend or your mother, your father, or your uncle, do you call that a podcast interview?
No. Hmm.
No, right? When you talk to the chaiwala and you tell him that you want a cup of chai, is that a podcast interview? You very specifically, this is a podcast interview. So when you say the whole day becomes a meditation, you're using one word to describe so many different experiences, which doesn't make sense to me. So you
Hmm.
can say my whole day is a practice of being present through the art of concentration or being focused. When I sit down, close my eyes, and go within, I'm meditating. Does it make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Just for the amateur listeners, there's a couple of things I'd want to highlight.
Yeah.
One is that to get to the stage of practice that Sir's speaking of, it takes some time. So try doing it. And if your head starts slipping away, pull it back to the activity you're doing, pull it back to the conversation you're in. That's what builds focus over time. And the second thing I'd love to highlight is this is just an assumption that
Mhm.
tends to happen on the Indian internet.
Mhm.
People assume that every time we speak to anyone who's involved in any kind of spiritual practice, this has a religious tonality. But these kind of conversations, when we're speaking about focus, mantra chanting,
Yeah.
it's devoid of religion or religious practices. Whatever your religion is, whatever religion you belong to, you can incorporate these practices along with practices from your own religion, make your own version of it. But the goal is to kind of stay in the moment.
Yeah. And to experience that moment that you've crafted for yourself, that you created for yourself, right? And I think
Hmm.
one of the other, I love traveling. My family's from Sri Lanka, so I'm Sri Lankan of ancestry, but India is my favorite country in the world. I love going to India. I love traveling in India. And whenever I go to India, one of the common things either I hear in India or I hear people post on my social media platforms is that you need to get to a certain stage in life before you can start meditating or worshiping or doing chanting. You don't. That's a big misconception. Why do you need to get to a certain stage? This is not a university. This is not something that you need a degree in order to do. Just start doing.
Hmm.
You don't need to be anything more special than who you are today to begin to meditate or to begin to start a spiritual practice.
Yep. So they say that content drives culture. So the kind of lives we live are in a huge way driven by the content we consume. And we're living in an age of hyper short content. You
Yeah.
have Instagram reels, you have short content like on TikTok, 30-second videos, 15-second videos. And they say that the long term effects of that is that our attention spans become lower. So that's a menace that an entire generation will have to fight. Now, opposed to that, it's practices like these, which will actually combat the effects of content like that, where you try staying in a moment completely. You
Yeah.
try listening to a deep, long conversation like this with your full focus. You keep
Yeah.
bringing back, the most intense parts of your mind into your daily life.
Yeah.
But what would you have to say about that? The way the modern day forms of content are affecting the mind. Do you believe that it is? Because I certainly do.
Yeah, no, 100%. So imagine if I'm just watching 30-second reels, right? I'm watching for 30 seconds and then whatever algorithm is feeding me the next reel, you know, and, and it could be something I'm totally uninterested in. And then I could watch that for 5, 7 seconds and then go like, I'm not interested. So I swipe and go to the next thing. Now I'm training my awareness to only be on one thing for that limited period of time, whether it's 30 seconds or 5 seconds or 10 seconds. There's a saying I have called, a law I call the law of practice, meaning whatever it is you practice is what you become good at. So if I practice
Hmm.
concentration every day, I become good at concentration. If I practice distraction all day, I become really good at distraction. So imagine if I'm jumping from one thing to another, every 10 or 15 seconds because being trained by social media to do that. What would I become good at? I become good at keeping my focus for as long as 15 seconds. So now I'm having a conversation with you, and after 15 seconds, my subconscious tells my mind, okay, it's time to shift to something else. Well, that's really interesting. Bird flying. Did you say something? What you saying? And then I become a master, that I become good at whatever it is I practice. And this is where everybody needs to make a choice, right? Really? And that's why I started at the beginning saying that we need to make the case. We need to convince ourselves that, is this the way I want to live? I'm not saying one way is the correct way and one way is an incorrect way. At the end of the day, what do you want in your life? If you want to live a truly rewarding life, a profound life, and to be able to experience these things that you're creating in your life, the food that you choose to buy and eat, the vacation that you choose to buy and go on, the people that you choose to spend time with, then you really need to be able to focus. Because if you can't be focused, how can you actually enjoy that person, listen to them, enjoy what they're sharing with you, and enjoy that chat experience? You can't. You only would have an attention span of 15 or 30 seconds before you shift to something else. And then at the end of your life, you'll have a trillion shallow experiences, nothing deep and profound.